No, strike me down in anger and I'll always be with you, just like your father. This is your look at the Gentle Giant Limited Star Wars Luke Skywalker 1/6 scale mini bust. Luke Skywalker was a Tatooine farm boy who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the greatest Jedi the galaxy had ever known. Along with his friends Princess Leia and Han Solo, Luke battled the evil Empire, discovered the truth of his parentage, and ended the tyranny of the Sith. A generation later, the location of the famed Jedi Master was one of the galaxy's greatest mysteries. Haunted by Ben Solo's fall to evil and convinced the Jedi had to end, Luke sought exile on a distant world, ignoring the galaxy's pleas for help. But his solitude would be interrupted, and Luke Skywalker had one final momentous role to play in the struggle between good and evil. Designed, modeled, and prototyped using top-of-the-line 3D technology, this 1/6 scale mini bust is hand-cast, hand-painted, and hand-numbered with a limited edition certificate of authenticity. May the Force be with you. Before we get into the review of Luke Skywalker, the first thing we're going to do is figure out how tall the statue stands. Technically, there's two ways of looking at this. We could either go by the height of Luke's head, or we can go the height much higher of the end of his lightsaber blade. I'm going to go ahead for the purpose of this, and I'm actually just going to measure it to the top of Luke Skywalker's head, simply just because that's the end of the statue. And then technically, if you want to kind of think of it this way, the blade is just an extra accessory to that. Maybe my logic is off. I don't know. Nonetheless, though, according to my trusty tape measure, Luke Skywalker stands 6.7 inches in height. And switching that to centimeters, then you're looking at the statue standing 17.1 centimeters tall. Normally, I would show you guys a certificate of authenticity, but unfortunately I don't have it for this statue. This was kindly provided by the folks over at Diamond Select, so we could have a look at it in this review. And normally, like I said, a certificate of authenticity would be present. I just never got one with this particular statue, but I can show you if we pick up Luke very carefully and look on the underside of the base. We're treated not only to Gentle Giant Limited Star Wars. Now this is Luke Skywalker on crates and the collectible mini bust limited edition. Normally this would be the number out of 1,500, but because again it was provided by Diamond Select, there's no number actually there. It's just blank and left off. A couple of felt feet, a few of them of which I've noticed actually there's a little bit of styrofoam left remaining, but 4 rubberized feet in somewhat the corners of the bottom of the base to prevent any scratching on surfaces. Technically, there is a little bit of assembly that's required when you get Luke out of the packaging. His lightsaber beam or blade is left off completely. You sort of can see how it works. The hilt of the lightsaber has this little post that's sticking up. The hardest part, if anything, is just trying to figure out which end is which. Obviously, it's the end, or the big giveaway really is the end of the lightsaber's more rounded off. The one that's going to go into the hilt is flat, and also the telltale sign would be the fact that there's a big noticeable hole on the underside. All you really have to do is fit this onto the post. I've said this in previous reviews of things when we've had a look at statues that have lightsaber blades like this. When you do put it down, this one's a little looser, but I noticed that in previous instances it did help me to twist it as I was sliding the beam onto the hilt. And that's what it looks like. Definitely does add a lot to it. Certainly would look a little vacant, wouldn't it, by having this just post sticking up. I guess technically you could leave it off, but then you would have, yes, this big noticeable eyesore of a peg that's sticking up. So we're just going to put the blade on top of that. As for Luke Skywalker, of course, this is one of 2 looks that he sports in the film. It's more hermit-like when we first see him. Longer hair, longer beard, and then he felt so compelled, even though he was technically a spirit, or at least coming there as an image, he felt the need still to appear with a shorter beard and shorter hair. Not really sure why, but that was what he ended up doing. Although his outfit, of course, was changed a little bit more so as well, to kind of give more the traditional Jedi robe versus the robe that he has at the beginning of the film. For his sculpting, I must say that's a good bang-on likeness to actor Mark Hamill, who of course had the task of reprising his role. Some would say that he would be slightly more disappointed by what the end result was, not really portraying Luke Skywalker in the best way, did they? They sort of frowned on the character and sort of made him more of a coward than anything else, and that's not really what I picture as Luke Skywalker to be, but then again, I wasn't the one that wrote, produced, and released the film. But despite that, despite my disappointments with Luke in the film, as a statue, that's definitely a good likeness, though, to, like I said, Mark Hamill. He does have some noticeable eyeliner right around the bottom area of his eye. That's the only thing that I would say I would have pulled away from. The top is okay. I don't know if that line was supposed to be a little higher up to the bottom of his eyelid and just ended up finding its way slightly lower down. I guess you could say that those are his eyelashes. But again, if anything, I feel that that should have been a little bit higher up. It doesn't seem as bad when you see it from a distance. When you see it closer, though, is where you start seeing that standing out. I like his eyes. The eyes are certainly a nice touch. He's got a little bit of reflection there in the corner there as well, and very bright blue eyes. It's about the only bit of color that actually is on this character, because the majority of him is all sort of bogged down by dark colors. Fairly stated, though. I mean, the colors are based on the costume that he has in the film, but I mean, really short of his eyes and short of his lightsaber blade, there's really a lot of dark colors happening here on Luke Skywalker. I like the texturing, first and foremost, that they put actually into his robe. His hood doesn't have that. You got to believe it would be underneath this if you were to be able to lift this up, which obviously we can't. But nice little ridges that they added, and they've painted that in there as well. Sort of a dark purplish black. It's hard to really pinpoint the color. In certain light conditions, it actually comes across more like a very dark gray. In other light conditions, that kind of seems like it has a slight purple tint. Maybe it's just my eyes playing tricks on me. But he does have some coloring added in there as well. The shirt that he has underneath that is done not only in the gray that runs across the front here, but he has a lighter white gray, or a lighter, very light off gray white that has the collar there that's sticking up. Do bear with me, though, as we just go back to Luke's head sculpt for a second. I really want to comment on his beard. I'm really liking the sculpt on that. A bit on the shaggy side, yes, but I really like those how each of those individual hairs stand out from the one that's next to it. They also added a fair bit of paint, actually, to his hair as well. Brushed slightly to the side, sort of mimicking a bit, if you will, he kind of has very much an Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of vibe going on here. I'm sure that was intended. But they even added a little bit of shadow that's just underneath his hair. So it actually looks like the hair's started to cast a shadow actually onto his forehead. That's a nice little touch. I like that. As I said, though, the hair does have some different colors added to it. Lighter brown, darker brown, like a chestnut brown. And even it seems to have little areas of gray in there. That would make sense, of course, as well. Going back, though, to his outfit, he has nice natural wrinkles that have developed, even around the areas around the belt, because you got to imagine that belt would be holding back a little bit more of an unfit, certainly Luke Skywalker, that has only been really seeing a life of being a hermit. I can't imagine he's been doing much working out. It happens to the best of us. But you can see there's some nice wrinkles that have developed around the area of the belt, which of course will be holding back the Jedi tunic that's underneath that. He also has some additional coloring that's done on his one hand, of course the hand that he has to hide, and that's done in a nice brown with a dark wash of brown added over top of it, or almost a little bit of black that's added to that as well. Happy with the way that the lightsaber turned out. You got the nice silver color, the little knob and button along the top there. Very, very nicely detailed lightsaber hilt. And then, of course, his other hand, not one that requires to be using a glove. You can see as well, let me just get the camera to focus there. There we go. Not only did they actually paint the fingernails, but they actually did it in two colors as well. Because normally, again, when you look at fingernails tend to be lighter, more of a lighter flesh tone. But then when you get to the end of the nail, depending on how well you cut them or not, you normally would then see a little end bottom piece there that's done in lighter white. And they've done that as well. that's not something that you tend to see too often with statues. A lot of times they basically just draw in the indication of a fingernail, but to go the extent of actually adding the end of the nail as well, that's a really, really nice touch. Obviously, Luke is a bust, which basically means he's not going to have any lower legs. These work quite well, and I kind of am in the market of, when it comes to collecting the Diamond Select and the Gentle Giant stuff, to be in the more market of busts because they take up a whole lot less space. Even though technically he's gone the route of Darth Maul by having no lower torso, I still feel like there's a lot going on upstairs here, where you get a good, still solid sculpt of Luke Skywalker. Not again the way that I would have preferred Luke to have gone in the later trilogy, but still, it was nice to see the classic characters coming back in one way, shape, or form. Just again, I'm really disappointed with how they handled Luke Skywalker. At least he was somewhat able to redeem himself into the last film, but by then, of course, there was a lot of mess that they had to clean up. As it goes for a Gentle Giant release of Luke Skywalker sporting more the Obi-Wan style of beard and hair, this one really turned out quite nicely. Even though it doesn't technically have a whole lot of color going for it, the textures that they've added to the robe, the detailing that they've done to the face, even again, those beard and individual hairs standing out from them, and even like fingernails, things that we talked about as well in this review, make this particular Luke Skywalker a standout bust. Yeah, Disney did not want to spend any bit of time throwing any bit of love to the original cast of characters from the original Star Wars trilogy. In fact, a lot of times they were either sitting on the back burner in favor of the newer characters, and I get the idea that they wanted to push the newer characters. That's where the merchandise and that's where the story is going to continue. Who wants to live in the past, right? Well, the problem is that the Star Wars fans that grew up with the original trilogy all wanted to see their characters in sort of the exact same way as they left them. Older, yes, perhaps not as agile and moving around as they did in the original films, but still somewhat the same characters. Han got more love than, say, the likes of Chewbacca. Princess Leia got a little bit of spotlight, but then you had characters like Luke Skywalker. What was the deal with that? Keeping him as a hermit on an island, hiding away from everybody, milking strange creatures on rocks. That's not what Luke Skywalker should have been. That's not what we wanted Luke Skywalker to be. And so it was really disappointing. Even when we see him looking like this, it's not even really Luke Skywalker either. It's just an image he's projected while he's still hermiting on that island. Nobody wanted to see that. Despite that, Gentle Giant still gives the honor that I felt Luke Skywalker didn't get in the film by presenting him nicely, though without any legs, unfortunately, as a mini bust. He's presented quite nicely. He looks like actor Mark Hamill, sporting that Obi-Wan Kenobi vibe going on there. He's got his hilt and lightsaber drawn, so at least he's ready to do something. Unlike in the film where he did nothing. The coloring on this one is quite good as well, even though, again, most of it is just dark grays and dark browns. He certainly does look commanding as a presence when you put him on your shelf. And because, again, he's as a mini bust, presented as a mini bust, it means there's a lot less of him to fit on a shelf. Where if you're someone who's tight for space and quarters, the mini busts are really ideal for that because they take up a whole lot less space. Still the same amount of detail, just in a smaller amount of footprint. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of the Star Wars Luke Skywalker crate release. This is the 1/6 scale mini bust. And a big thank you again to the folks over at Diamond Select who provided the sample of Luke Skywalker that we had a look at in this review. Now, say you like the content that you're watching on this channel. Say you'd like to stay on board and see more of it, but you don't really know what to do. Might I suggest you hit that subscribe button down below as the first thing, and then move on over to the bell notification and turn that on so that you get those friendly little reminders of when new videos will be popping up. Let me also add a little bit of a friendly reminder that Monday to Friday, 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when new videos pop up on this channel. And let me also give you a friendly reminder that there's going to be a whole bunch of statue and Diamond Select reviews coming your way, so keep your peepers peeled. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.